This Friday night is back to school night for the kids here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, and we'll feature all 5 of our weekly divisions. And unfortunately, Bonssa Tufa, back to school night means the season is winding down in a hurry.
I can't believe how fast this year has gone by. Only 6 more events, Kyle. That's just surreal. We were so excited for so long to get a full season going after last year was shortened, and all of a sudden we're almost at the end. It's crazy, but it's been a fun season, and it's only going to get better.
Absolutely. A lot to talk about as points races begin to heat up. We should mention that this Friday night will include some big wheel races for the kids, part of our back to school, let's call it celebration for some of the parents. SK Modifieds, last week, another new winner this season and a driver that got it back to Napa Victory Lane for the first time in over 2 years.
Yeah, Andrew Moeller, very fast on Friday, took the lead early, never looked back. As you mentioned, it's been over 2 years when he won his first SK race in, his 6th SK start in his career, and now he made it back. I don't know how many drivers can say they won a late model race and an SK race in the same season. So good on Andrew Moeller to get it done. And he was fast in the open race, and he got top 10 in the late model race as well. So he's been fast when he does triple duty all the time. He's been very impressive when he's really got his hands full with 3 different cars in one night.
You mentioned 6 races to go, a fairly tight championship battle. Right now, it's pretty much among 3 drivers with Todd Owen out front.
Yeah, Todd Owen, Steven Kopchik, Mike Christopher Jr., who got a podium last week despite a car he wasn't exactly happy with. 4th place, Tyler Hines, at least coming in a couple weeks ago. He's had a couple engine issues. He's pretty much out of it now. So it's pretty much down to those 3, and they've been really next to each other. They can't really get away from each other, it seems like. So it's going to be hard. Kopchik and Christopher are going to have some breakout nights while hoping that Owen finds a little bit of trouble.
As of right now, 30 points separate the top 3, but more on that in a moment. In the late models, it was kind of a runaway last Friday night by Michael Bennett. I mean, literally, once he got out front, he was gone.
They were battling like heck from second on back, and that allowed Bennett to pull away. I believe the margin of victory was just over 8 seconds. That's insane. Bennett's been fast all year. He's not been running up in the top 2, top 3 as much the previous month or so, but they got that car going right this time. 4th win of the year, the most in the division. And in terms of the points picture, he's back in the front of the points.
What he is not running away with is the championship standings. Top 3 are separated by, I believe, just 8 points in a point battle that I think has swapped the top spot more times than not in the second half of the season.
We've talked about the late models being unpredictable every week. One night you'll have Michael Ray up front, Adam Gray might have a bad night, and then the next night they switch. And then Michael Bennett comes in out of nowhere and he dominates the race. You just don't know which each week brings in the late model division. It's full fender, banging action. Anything can happen, and it's going to be even more exciting as the season rolls on.
In the SK Light Modifieds, it was the Mad Pup getting back to victory lane, and as always, very excited when he climbed out of the car for George Bissett Jr.
He's got a very contagious amount of energy. It's fun watching him win because that celebration in victory lane. He was kind of down on himself in recent weeks because he hadn't quite been able to break into the podium as much as he probably wanted to. It's one way to do it, get back to victory lane, holding off Derek Debus. And Derek Debus, I have to give him credit because the weeks that he doesn't have heat races, he starts 15th. He's been able to make his way to 2nd or to 1st despite starting midway through the pack in a field that's very competitive.
And that's something that I think he struggled with last year, is making his way up through the field and managing traffic. He has picked up that skill in a hurry here in 2021, and I think he's going to be the one that everybody's chasing for this championship. Can anybody catch him with 6 to go? Over 25 points between the top 2 right now.
It's a big field, so if Alex Pearl gets a good 9, Debus has had 1 DNF this year, another DNF while Pearl gets a top 5, or even Sullivan, can change everything. So nothing is even close to set in stone, those guys.
28 points separate the top 2. In the limited late models, where has Devick Jensic come from? Very quiet at the start of the season, really struggling with that car, wrecked it hard off of turn number 4 about a month ago, but ever since they put Humpty Dumpty back together, they have been a force to reckon with.
3 wins in the last 4 races, seemingly out of nowhere. Ever since that wreck, that team has just turned it on. Good for Devin. I mean, the field just keeps getting better and better in terms of competition. Now Jensic, he's dominating the scene. First it was Alex Fern, and then you had your battles with Alex Fern. You had Matt Clement in there, eventually Jeremy Lavoie, but now Devin Jensic's taken over. I don't know if he's quite in the title hunt per se. That's still pretty much between Alex Fern and Jeremy Lavoie, but Jensic's domination in recent weeks is honestly incredible to watch.
Let's talk about that title hunt. Alexandra lost a bunch of points 2 weeks ago at that last lap incident in turn number 1, her worst finish of the season outside of the top 10. As Lavoie went on to have a good podium finish. They were both back on the podium this week, and I think it could be that way the rest of the season, these next 6 weeks. There's only a couple of points between them.
It's going to be one of those cases where I think those two can never get away from each other. So neither driver has a mulligan, especially with the whole drop week deal that we have. We'll touch on that later. Jeremy Lavoie and Alex Fern cannot really afford a bad run if another one has a good run, especially with the field size and such, that if you lose a lot of points, it's going to be really hard to gain it back. But Lavoie has shown more speed over the past month or so, including the win that he got recently. So Alex Fern, a couple bad weeks there, but she got second place. She said in the post-race interview, only one more spot to improve before she's back to victory lane.
And she has a 4-point lead over Jeremy Lavoie going into this Friday night. And then there were the street stocks.
Oh.
And again, they were 3 and 4 wide all the way around. The top 4 contenders that we have talked about all year were right in the mix for most of the 20-lap event on Friday.
Chris Meyer, Frank Latwell Jr., Travis Hydar, and Nick Hovey. And what a show those guys put on, beating and banging. From third to first, Hydar went in turn 3 when Meyer and Latwell slid up. And then they hit each other again. It was just back and forth. Another great battle. We've talked about late models. We've talked about SKs. But, man, the street stocks, they've been putting on incredible battles for the win. A lot of yellows. It was a survival race mid-pack. We saw one car get upside down, Travis Downey. I mean, that race had everything. We saw battles for the lead. We saw leaders spinning. We saw a flip. We saw a frantic finish. The street stocks just don't disappoint every week. They just put on such a great show with contenders who have enough respect for each other. They can beat and bang without wrecking, and it just makes it incredible to watch.
Chris Meyer, the point leader, by 4 over Frank Latwell, who is on quite the streak of his own. Perhaps the most consistent driver in the last 5 weeks to not make it to victory lane.
Yep.
And you know why?
I
stumped Bonssa. He's finished second the last 5 races. That's
Unreal.
how consistent that number 8 car has been in the street stock division. And, man, he is fun to watch, as they all are in that division.
He's very methodical with the way he makes his way through the field. Watching him and Meyer start mid-pack and make their way to the front, it's honestly impressive because they don't make too much contact when they carve their way through the field, despite what the street stocks can do in terms of full-blown contact racing. But Travis Hydar, he's having a career year himself. That's his 3rd win of the season. That's the most he's had in a year. He's never had a multi-win season. So Hydar's really got that 11 car going in the right direction with those 3 wins, and he's going to get 4th soon if this keeps up.
And the big question for me for that 42 car that got upside down last week, will the nickname Travis Upside Downy stick?
Man. For his sake, I hope not. For his sake, I hope not.
Street stocks will be in action along with all of the Stafford weekly divisions. We talked about points a lot in this video. That's what we're focused on. But those totals aren't necessarily the real world totals, I guess, that we're going to be looking at because there is a drop race. Bonssa, explain what this drop is about for race teams.
So it's pretty simple. The worst finish that you have in the season will get dropped. So whatever points you had, those get taken away unless it's a week where you were suspended or disqualified. Those don't count. You can't use those as a drop week. But if you take a week off per se because of a heavily damaged race car, that can be your drop week. So it basically means you don't miss a week.
And you can't drop the last race.
Nope.
You have to drop. You can drop any race except for the championship night, which is hard to believe, just over a month away. All the action this Friday night, though, gets underway just after 6 o'clock Eastern Time here at the Stafford Speedway. Hope you can make it out. But if you can't, you can tune us in live on flowracing.com.